Let your rapidity be that of the wind, your compactness that of a forest.
What's up, champions? Welcome to another episode of Champion Reads, where we talk about best-selling books and their best principles to help you out with your best life. I'm one of your co-hosts, Coach Willie Blake. I met with my other co-host, Ian Stermer, and the founder of Champion Circle, Mr. Jon Kovach Jr. This podcast is brought to you by Champion Circle, a professional organization that helps business owners as well as entrepreneurs to achieve anything within 90 days. And so if that sounds like something that you want, make sure to jump over to our website, mychampioncircle.com, and you'll be able to find our roundtables that you can visit, as well as other information to be able to achieve anything in 90 days. The book that we are doing for this month is The Art of War by, I'm going to butcher this and I might need Ian's help, Sun Tzu. My dyslexia is getting me. Sun Tzu?
Sun Tzu, yes, Master Sun.
Master Sun. Art of War. There is so many different things. We were joking about it in the green room beforehand. You can literally turn to any page, pick a quote, and 9 times out of 10, you got something good to be able to share. So as we start this discussion, John, I know that you had a life experience, you had a lesson, so I'm going to turn it right over to you to be able to start this awesome thing. I don't know why. This awesome discussion. There we go.
Thanks, Ian.
I'm
just kidding. Thanks, Willie. That actually helps to paint the picture of what I'm about to describe, because I have a theme in life, and that is, you never want to let people know what your next move is going to be. I'm very hyper aware of my surroundings. It has a lot to do with ADHD, but even when I'm at the grocery store, I key into details. And most people believe and think that ADHD is having no ability to pay attention. That's not the case. It's the ability to pay attention to one thing at a time, and it's more of being hyper aware of everything around you. And then when you do hone in on one thing, you overstimulate and you hyper focus on one thing and you forget everything else. And so it's kind of a teeter-totter of things. So at grocery stores, I mean, there's so much product, there's so many colors and textures and things, but one thing that I always notice are the ceiling fans. You ever seen the ceiling fans? You ever see the security cameras in every corner? Like, you just take note of them and they're just there. So you most people, if I even mention that, it's gonna ruin their experience, because they're gonna walk into a grocery store and now they're gonna look for it, right? But just welcome to the life of someone with ADHD. But this is carried on as more of a joke in my life, where I'm like, yeah, never let them know your next move. Always keep them guessing. And I was reading Sun Tzu's The Art of War. This is like my 3rd or 4th time. 1, I read it. 2, I listened to the audiobook and it confused me more. So I dove into the picture book and I was like, I need some visuals. I need to kind of understand this from a deeper level. And I landed on this page that's talking about, like, if you are making the transition into famedom or you want to be seen and heard by more people, there's a way that celebrities and political figures or public figures can be seen. And the strategy here from the Art of War's perspective is called visualize your narrative. And as you visualize your narrative, he says, let your rapidity be that of the wind and your compactness that of the forest. What the heck does that mean? I'm going to look at this and say, be rapid like the wind. So be very, very swift and come and hit at times when you least expect it, right? It's hard to hear wind coming before it hits you. And then the other one is the compactness of the forest. It's like, be dense, have so much like territory to cover if someone wants to come to understand you. And this comes from like my favorite conversation at family gatherings, especially Thanksgiving, when Uncle Jerry wants to judge you for not having a real job because you're an entrepreneur. And so he's like, hey, why don't you, John, tell the whole family what it is that you actually do for a living? And other than saying superlatives to Uncle Jerry, you smile and you look at him and you tell him exactly what he won't ever understand. And that's being like compact like the forest and rapid like the wind. And I'll finish the quote and we can kind of dive into this, but it's like he says, be like fire, Sun Tzu. Okay. Be like fire, unpredictable, right? If the fire were to overtake you, have you guys ever just like sat and watched a fire and just be in amazement that you have no idea what truly is going down? We know that something is hot and that it's burning wood, and that as long as it has oxygen to breathe and wood to burn or material to burn, that it keeps burning, but you still never know what's good. That's why it's so mesmerizing, right? So be like fire, you're unpredictable. And let your plans, okay, because it is important and vital, and half the book is about making plans so that you can perfect the process. But make your plans be dark and impenetrable as night. And when you move, fall like thunderbolts. So let's sum this up. Be different, be unpredictable, be vast as a forest, but be unpenetrable as the night, meaning no one can affect you, influence you. You're as present as the sun has gone down. Darkness is everywhere, right? You can do that. It sounds dark, but it's not. It's just poetry. And when you move, fall like a thunderbolt. So let's open it up and talk about this unpredictableness, because you never know when lightning can strike. But when it comes to like life in general, for me, it's always be unpredictable. Never let them know what your next move is going to be. That's why I'm a goofball at the grocery store. I dance on camera, or I moonwalk out of the area for paying for your goods, right? Or when it comes to meeting people, I never give them a hello, how are you? What is it that you do? Are you fine? Like, always think of like better questions and things to say, or enthusiasm and charisma. But I want to hear from you guys. What are some your thoughts on this principle, unpredictableness?
Rubber baby buggy bumpers. That you didn't expect that. Yeah, I love that. And I'm going to move a little bit on that, but being unpredictable, but building up suspense, questions, wondering in your plans. I think one of the best ad campaigns I remember seeing was Mini, the car company. Now, not being a car guy, many years ago when they relaunched Mini in the US, there were billboards all around. I was living in San Francisco Bay Area at the time. Billboards all over with the slogan, sip, don't guzzle. And they would have like a wine glass and a huge water jug. And I didn't know what a Mini was. I didn't know that was a car. And I kept watching these billboards for months, going, well, there's something about like not needing as much, or, not wasting. There's something there, until they launched the car company in the US again. And then they were all over the place, and the pictures, the Mini and all that. So it was, not knowing cars, to me, it was an unpredictable thing. I didn't know what was going to happen, but there was an excitement building around it. There was something going to be there. And I loved that. And I want to compare that to an opposite one, the Tom Hanks movie Castaway. I watched the previews for that movie and felt I had no need to watch. I still have not watched the movie because the previews told me the entire plot line, all the way through it, including the ending. There was no reason to do it. It was all right there. There was no excitement for me with that movie. Maybe it was great acting or dialogue in there, but I'll never know, because it's like if you read the ending of a detective novel, I don't have a desire to read the rest of the book after that. So there's got to be mystery. There's got to be a building of what is this going to be on an entrepreneurial side. And the strategic side, you've got to keep your enemy, your competition guessing some about where you're going to go. If you give all your secrets at the beginning, like the movie Castaway, okay, they made a lot of money, but not from me. So they failed in their attempt to win me personally. And it's all about me. So I'll leave it at that.
I like how you bring in the entrepreneurial shift into this. Wow. Dyslexia for the win. Into this, because I think about competition, and I think about like people I've talked to recently who they've been talking about competitors and how sometimes they are beating them and sometimes they're just like annoying pests. And if we give, like as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, if we give everything out to everybody, then it's more of a chance for everybody to then knock you off of reaching that goal. And I think of like, there's the difference between sharing and transparency, because you can share with people. Big companies share like in their big board, what do they call it? Big board meetings. They have like their annual reviews of if people like invest in the stocks, they'll have their meeting, shareholder investment meeting, to where they'll share information, how the company's doing, what they're looking like, what projections are for the next 3 months, the next year, next 5 years. That way, like people get excited about it. But that doesn't mean that you share the farm. Doesn't mean that you give away everything. Being transparent is something that you are around individuals, but I don't think you need to be super transparent. Maybe I'm just throwing the word out. It's not the right word, but you got to keep some stuff in. You got to wait until it's out there into like fruition. You got to wait until after the building's built from the blueprint. You don't want to share the blueprint, because if you share the blueprint, well, then other people might be taking it. You don't want to be out there sharing everything that you have, because if you share everything that you have, again, people are going to take it away. And then it's just like, well, I came up with the idea first. The market doesn't care who comes up with it first. They care who puts it out there first to help more people. That's where the value comes from. So in the weirdest way, it's like we share what we can to give value to people and being in the market. But then you got to keep some things back, things that are still in blueprint form, thoughts and ideas that are still in the back, because until it starts getting out there, you want to stack the deck in your favor, and you don't want other people to knock you down while you're trying to build it, because it kind of sucks and it's hard.
Yeah. I find that principle to be interesting, because there's a push and a pull when it comes to life. Values that humanity and our just general communities really accept are people who are open like a book, willing to share anything. They want you to be friendly, and these are principles that they teach you as adults. When like we're children, they teach us, don't talk to strangers, right? And so it's conflicting, because the childish advice of don't talk to strangers is basically what what Sun Tzu's talking about, and the principle of be a friendly person, be willing to talk to anyone and share anything, be an open book. That oversharingness can lead to things that will obviously let people know who and what and why you're doing things. And so it's very important, I feel, that you be strategic in what you share, how you share it, and so forth. It's like I saw a video. It was probably a reel or a TikTok the other day, and it was, you shouldn't be afraid of the person who tells you what they're going to do. You should be afraid of the person who sits there quietly in the room and says nothing. And there's so many angles to that, but like, I'm not encouraging to sit there and do nothing. Like, I'm all about the contributor side of society. I think the more you sit in silence, the less contribution you make to other people. But in the art of war, it's all about how you reveal your moves, your plans. And when you strike with surprise. Okay. And I actually kind of want to merge into one of the principles that Ian was alluding to at the last episode, and he brought it up, or he put it in our show notes today, because it is interesting. I kind of wanted to ask the question, like, what is the quote unquote art of war? And without taking away from anyone's thunder or punchlines, I just want to say, like, to me, what we think war is its dominance, its power, its strength, it's the ability to strike and let your enemies know that you should be afraid of us because we can wipe you out in one move. And that dominance is sort of like a peacock, right? It's puffing up so that people know how big and treacherous you can be. Maybe not a peacock, but like a turkey. Never go eye to eye with a full grown turkey, right? But at the same time, what Sun Tzu says is, look, violence is the last resort. Okay. But the first resort of war is being able to do what you need to do to win without anyone being hurt, without anyone dying, without any slaughter, without any plundering, right? Without anything. Tact and stratagem are the ways to win. And when you can succeed at that, you, my friend, are the artiste of accomplishing great things. And so that's where I kind of look at this and it's say, well, people read the title of this book, The Art of War, and they think, okay, am I going to learn about, like, maybe killing is a beautiful thing? Nope. There's nothing beautiful about it. Okay. Maybe there's poetry in the camaraderie of soldierism. Like, I don't know. That's not really where this is going, but I think that that's what people think of when they think before they read this book. And the fact that I have like a dozen copies in different form just goes to show you how impactful this book is. And it's not necessarily about war, but it's about you and what you need. And I love that, because we can learn anything from anything. And when you are highly gifted and talented at one thing, you can use that as a way to teach, and you can use it for good. That's why when people become, renowned sports players, the next move that they usually go into is business and motivational speaking, because they transition what they've learned over a career of success, and they teach people how to embody that in their own ways. And that's the art of success, right? So pretty fascinating stuff, but I want to open it up to the team here to dive in and really share more. What do you guys think about this idea that it's not about war, but it's about strategy and doing so without slaughter?
I'm going to say, yeah, it's about art more than war. And there's a difference. We think of war as being whoever's the strongest is going to win. And this whole book is doing away with that idea. So sometimes when I'm playing a game on my phone, the ad pops up, and there's this ad for a game that I can't remember the name of it because I hate it so much. And you've got like this character with a number over his head, like 6. And then you've got the enemy with the number over their head. And if the number is lower, you attack them and you win. If the number is higher, you attack them and you lose. And I thought, how stupid do you have to be to not win that game? Is 6 bigger than 7? No. Okay, I won't attack. It's, I don't want to say pure science because that's an insult to science, but it's simply absolute fact. Which number is bigger? There's no art in there. This whole book is about the art of war. How do you manipulate the factors around you to create the outcome you want? Not that much different than how do you manipulate the 3 basic colors. There's only 3 colors, red, yellow, and blue. And those three colors combine to make a nearly infinite number or amount or shades of colors out of those three. And there's only three. In war or in any conflict, in any strategy, there's a finite number of variables that you're looking at. But how you bring those variables together, the landscape, the training of the armies, the quality of the weapons you have, the respect of the leadership, the concern for the foot soldiers, the weather going on, the enemy's position, all of these things, Sun Tzu teaches us to, if you have a weakness one area, here's where you can manipulate the other side. If you have, the enemy has a strength here, here's how you can counteract that. And it's an art. It's not simply if they have 10 people and you have 9 people, you're going to lose. So go get 2 more people, then you'll win. That'd be a short book. But there's an art. It's manipulation. It's painting. It's music. It's any of these things. It's 26 letters in the English alphabet that creates an infinite number of possibilities we can have. And to me, that's the idea of art. And it's expanding and opening our mind to realize that we are not locked into a black and white, finite, no option situation. We can take control of it. And again, I'm turning to art like a painter can take those colors and bring out any emotion, any feeling, any depiction they want. They can do if they have the talent. So that's to me the art of war.
I like how they bring up it's not about violence, like it's about strategy. It's about, like you both were saying, about the art of it. And that's what we don't get that really in history books or when we talk about war. Because you think of this day and age, when we talk about war, it's in other countries. We don't hear about the strategy that's going on or it's going. It's just like who won, who lost, who died, who survived, and that's all we get to hear. Talk to teenagers, they talk about Call of Duty, right? And that's all they think about. And it's like you versus the NPCs on the other side. Or if you're playing multiplayer, you versus the other people. But they don't talk about the strategy. And I find it so interesting that when it comes to like the presidents, like George Washington, when he was, I can't remember the exact thing, but he goes across on, I believe it was either Christmas or New Year's, goes across the lake to be able to take over the other side during the night when his army was a lot less and he had no clue what was going to happen, but that's the strategy of it that helped them win. Abraham Lincoln, when he became president, he didn't just bring people into his cabinet of people who were yes men or who were all the same things. It was the exact opposite. He brought in his competition. He brought in people who thought against him because all of them together, he gets a broader perspective on everything and was able to be a great president. I was able to lead. And so it's so interesting that it's never been about the violence. Violence should be the last resort. It's about how you create a result based off of what you have. And when it comes to war, when it comes to contention, whether it's with yourself, other people, or other nations, it's about what you do with what you have in order to get the result that you want. And that's the beauty of it. That's where the art comes in, the strategy, the persuasion, the manipulation, the sending scouts and spies to learn about enemies' plans, appearing weak when you're strong, appearing strong when you're weak. It's just like there's so much that goes into it. And I love this book just for that. But you're both right. It's the strategy and it's the art of war.
Yeah. I'll jump in with another sports reference, but you can look at football completely differently. And I hope I don't ruin the sport of football for our listeners, because once I got to this point, I stopped watching college football and NFL. I only started watching like the highlights because one, Well, it takes a lot of time to watch a football game, like 3.5 hours, and there's other stuff I could be doing. And two, it ruined it because I knew what was happening. If you look at the game of chess and you compare it to football, or if you look at art and stratagem and you compare it to football, all of a sudden you have this idea that it's not just who ran the better play, but who has assembled a strategy that has caused a defense which is designed to destroy everything in front of it, okay, and to keep a ball from moving forward. That is the purpose of the game. That you realize, like, hey, you can outmaneuver and out strategize other teams by keeping them from knowing what you're going to do. It's the teams that run the predictable plays that don't tend to do well unless they have an overwhelmingly more talented side of the ball that they can place blockers in front of, paths to get you where you need to go. But if you look at it from the perspective of strategy, you realize the ones who are winning, the ones who are succeeding, are literally like, they're fearless, but they're also not dumb. They're not just juggernauts. They truly are some of the greatest minds that create outcomes based on what's ahead of them. And no, they don't just like go to the gym and pump weights and buff themselves up for the next game so that they can be big and powerful and not lose because they're weak. You guys have no idea what goes into planning. As a former football coach, we spend the majority of our waking moments looking at film of our enemy and dissecting plays and figuring out which of our plays are perfect against those scenarios. And then we look for tactics and strategies for when we notice that they've switched up the defense or that their offense is running a different strategy. And we adjust to that rather than reactive. You try to be proactive and you try to force them into their own corner. You guys ever heard the phrase, I got pigeonholed into doing something? You got pushed into a corner. And that's the goal of the game, is really to push someone into a corner and give them no options but to punt the ball, right? And so sorry if I ruined sports for you or if I just went woo right over your head. It's all good. It's all just strategy. But there's an art to it and it's beautiful. And that's why I don't have to sit there and watch a football game for 3.5 hours anymore in my life, because one, I can get that from the highlights, and people don't realize that the highlights aren't just the best plays of the game, but they're the best executions. And they're like a tip. They're like a tip to the waiter, right? Or a tip to the coach. It's just the beauty of it. And if you think about an artist who displays their art in a gallery, truly what they've done is they've created something worth displaying, and now they've given it to the public to visualize, to take a look at and see, for example, what it is that they truly have created. I think it's amazing. It's so deep. It's so interesting. And I love it. To the point that we have here in our show notes, Ian shared a note that I really love, which is to win 100 victories in 100 battles is not the acme of skill. To subdue the enemy without fighting is the acme of skill. So to everyone's point earlier, your strategies of your life are we like to say in Champion Circle, like the phrase is like, success isn't easy, but it is simple, right? And that means your execution can be simple, but think strategically for a moment about your execution. Think strategically about what it is that you plan to do. Think about the long-term outcomes. I have a diagram here that I was maybe going to go into. We don't have time for it anymore, and I don't think we need to, because it was talking about how a celebrity on the far left end of a scale is powerful because of visibility. But the further you move to invisibility and the further up you want to go on the spectrum creates greater power, and that's through strategy. So I think that that's fascinating for all of us to just consider and to look at our lives. Now, don't get lost in what we call paralysis by analysis. Focus on strategy through action and a dissemination, right? You want to create movement. But anyways, I think we have time for final comments. And I think we could have taken this in any direction. I'm really glad it went where it went, because I've learned a few things today. And as you can tell, when Jon gets a little long-winded, it's because he's trying to explain what his brain is comprehending, and he's like super excited to share it. So I appreciate the team. We have a rule here, and it's, keep it quick and short and rapid fire, but these guys have been too nice to me today. So thank you guys. But what are your final comments as we wrap this up?
Well, like everything with art, you can't follow all the rules. It's Pablo Picasso's famous quote, "You need to learn the rules so you know how to break them." So good job breaking them, Jon. We're all behind you there. I'm just going to finish up with another example, I guess, of the art of war and the different strategy makes. And forgive me if I get a few details of this wrong. A long time ago, I was reading a book, kind of Iroquois Native American history and mythology. And there's a story of a great warrior who snuck into the enemy's camp and hid inside the wood pile for the firewood. And each night for about a week, he snuck out in the middle of the night and killed one of the great warriors, and then snuck back in and hid inside this wood pile. Again, we're not advocating violence or anything, but if this same warrior had gone into a head-to-head battle and killed 7 people, that would have had a certain psychological impact on the enemy. But the enemy waking up every morning and finding another person in their stronghold had been killed had a very different psychological impact and just destroyed the ability of this enemy camp to fight. The same action with a different strategy behind it. In this case, it's, again, sadly killing somebody, but that difference in strategy made a huge difference in the outcome of that war. And that's what strategy is. It's not the action you take, but it's how you take a certain action that makes all the difference in winning and losing. And recognizing that, again, there's certain finite pieces we can move, but there's an infinite variety of ways we can move them. And the more ways you understand to move, the more likely you are to succeed, whether it's accomplishing your goals, earning more money, or conquering the world when you're playing Risk, which is a fun game if you haven't played that in a while. Okay, that's it for me.
Great. Risk is a fun game. I haven't played it for a while, though. Really fun game. And my final thoughts with it is, with this, Jon, did you have a comment with that?
I was just going to say, I love Risk, but I also have been, ever since finishing the finale of Stranger Things, have really been thinking about, hey, I should look into Dungeons and Dragons, because apparently there is a massive stratagem behind it. So anyways, that was just a comment, not nothing else.
We can do that online in our group.
And you heard it here. Champion Circle will be adding a Dungeons and Dragons segment to their business, and you will see that coming within the next 30 years. So as I wrap up my thoughts with this, is there's art in everything, and there's art in war. And when it comes to the war that we face with ourselves, with the nations, and with other people, I would say from my heart, which is, start with you. Start with the war inside of you. Learn to master it. Learn to be strategic with yourself. Learn yourself as the enemy. I call myself Bill, but that's something for a different time. My alter ego that I go against. But start with you. Start with you, and then work outwards. Because as we master the war within ourselves, we're able to be strategic and master the war outward towards others, towards the nations, and ultimately towards the things that we need in this world, which is more joy and peace. And that's just my personal opinion. So the art of war. Okay. Boom. And with that wraps up this episode of Champion Reads. If you found this inspiring, make sure to subscribe to the podcast. You can find us on your favorite podcasting platform, as well as you can go to our website, mychampionscircle.com, where you'll be able to find links to our podcast, our socials, and everything else going in the Champions universe. Until next time, champions, continue to be the best version of yourself. Continue to take those small steps to be the champion in your life. And always remember that if everything feels like a battle, you're probably fighting the wrong war. We'll see you on the next episode of Champion Reads.